David Hoffman, co-founder of Bankless, ETH Bull, ETH Maxi, does a little bit of everything on the stream. I think most people here are familiar with you, but is there anything you would like add to an intro about yourself?
Yeah, I think the Ethereum community would be like, he's not an ETH Maxi. They would probably throw a flag at that. But for the outside audience, they're probably like, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
I think you did, and we'll talk, obviously we're talking ETH. I think you did a pretty good job holding it down, all things considered, on ETH.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you talk to, right? And so, like, there are the perma ETH bulls like Anthony Cesano and like my co-founder Ryan, who are just like ride or die. And I talked to a lot of other communities. Before I started Bankless, I was doing a Bitcoin podcast, a Bitcoin versus Ethereum podcast, and that's where I learned to like speak Bitcoiner. And so, like in the last like year or so, I've been learning to speak not necessarily like Solana, but like to speak Blockworks or to speak REV people.
Blockworks.
Yeah, and so I can speak that language now. And then the Ethereum community has like been watching me do this, and they don't really necessarily like that I'm doing that. I'm like flirting with the enemy. I'm like in the wrong tribe. But I think it's important because if I can go and speak other people's language, then I can, I fit in.
Well, it gives you credibility. It gives you credibility. Yeah. It's like
yeah.
If you're a perma ETH maxi and then you can criticize certain decisions that are made or certain things that are happening, it gives you credibility amongst the people that follow you, that you're not just completely delusional, which I respect. Yeah. I respect. I think you're doing a good job of it. I guess to start here, I'm curious, like, what are you spending most of your time doing right now? Like, what are you most focused on? What are you obsessed with? What are you focused on?
Yeah, with the trend shift towards the public equities markets has been like the obvious thing. I mean, I look at my crypto portfolio on like my Rabby wallet, and then I look at my like Robinhood portfolio, and the Robinhood portfolio is moving more, and it's been moving more faster for longer. And so clearly the trend shift has been moving towards the public equities market. Like, just because I'm in the Ethereum ecosystem, I hear about like the ETH like treasury companies a little bit ahead of the curve just because they want to come on the show, right? Like they want the distribution. And so I get a little bit of an advantage point from that position. And like there's seemingly, like no one really knows, but there's seemingly like plenty of energy left in that whole side of things. And like I think since we learned after the Circle IPO, that there's just been so much energy in public markets. And so it's really like a TradFi driven market so far, and so like paying attention to that neck of the woods and trying to learn what I can about that is probably what I'm focused on.
You made a tweet not that long ago, I don't know the date, and you basically said I think there's like 3 upcoming ETH treasury companies that no one knows about in my DMs, and then
it turns out there was more than 3.
You replied to it and you're like, yeah, there's more than 3. How many ETH treasury companies are in your DMs that the public does not know about?
There are like 2 specific ones that I can like think of that are just like, oh, that's those 2. And then there's like one that I've heard rumors about. And then there's like 2 more that I've heard even more distant rumors about. So if I had to like guess specifically, I had to like bet on how many are going to come online in the next like month or so. I don't really know. My like 4 or 5 would be the number.
Yeah, it's accelerating.
Yeah. And it depends on like if they're small, then they're small, and it doesn't really matter. They have to be big, and that's kind of the thing that no one really knows.
Yeah. And I guess to even back up on the ETH thing, because I would imagine, especially from my audience, which definitely skews Sol OnChain, you're way more in tune with what's happening in ETH. I mean, ETH has been outperforming everything over the last couple weeks. Like, how would you articulate what changed and why ETH is like the best performing crypto asset right now?
I think there are a lot of things in the traditional capital markets that are kind of Ethereum coded. I think that the Circle IPO, this is a take that I have. I'd like for you to check it. The Circle IPO is Ethereum coded because there's USDC on all across different chains. There's USDC on Solana, but it started on Ethereum. The most of its supply is on Ethereum. It grew on Ethereum, not just Circle's on Ethereum, but Tether. Like Ethereum is a stable coin chain, and Circle really spawned on Ethereum. And who's Circle's biggest partner? It's Coinbase. What is Coinbase doing? They're building a layer 2. So Coinbase is Ethereum coded as well. And coin performance has done very, very well. And then Robinhood launching another layer 2 and you're starting to get a lot of just like traditional finance things that are doing Ethereum coded things. And once you get enough of that kindling laying down, then you get like Tom Lee, who has a ton of credibility in the TradFi space, to like rise as the Michael Saylor of Ethereum. Like Michael Saylor's, there's no second best to Michael Saylor. Like Michael Saylor is the best, most charismatic orator out there. But Tom Lee's pretty great, and he's had a bunch of credibility for calling Bitcoin and TradFi when Bitcoin was like $3,000. And so all of the public markets things that's happened over the last 6 months has been very Ethereum coded. And now Tom Lee's doing the MicroStrategy thing with credibility. And so he's just kind of lighting the match that is like lighting up all the kindling that's been laid over the last few months. That's how I explain it.
Is this just like a takeaway of price is the best narrative? Like it wasn't, but what, 3-6 months ago that the way to get the most engagement on CT is to post the ETH BTC chart, and then Bitcoin, all of a sudden ETH starts going up, and then it feels like the narrative, the way it's painted, the way people talk about Ethereum has like done a 180 shift. Like in the actual ETH trenches, has anything literally changed about why people are bullish Ethereum, or it's just the people and the big money that has come in and started buying have like shifted people's perception of it?
Yeah, so like the whole institutional led demand for ETH, I would say, is largely irrelevant to trenches because these are just different market participants, right? Now there are some runners that I'm watching on different layer twos, and like I think it would be very bullish for Ethereum if the runners on layer twos can like sustain themselves into like revitalizing the trenches and have that being a sort of confluence of the ETH price rise coming from the TradFi bid. If that happens, that's pretty damn cool because Ethereum lost users, it lost like capital formation to meme coins to Solana. It just lost a lot of the fun. I use like Andy8052. I'm sure you're familiar. I use him as like a big like litmus test of like where the activity is, and he's still like, no, like all my activities on Solana still. But like Solana could really still win like the on-chain trench warriors, that demographic, and also Ethereum could collect the institutional bid. There's no reason why those have to be in the same spot. It'd be cool if they were in the same spot, and that's why I'm watching some layer 2 tokens right now. But I kind of think those things are disconnected.
What are you watching?
I'm not used to talking about tokens that
give me one token. Tokens. Give me like one higher market cap token.
What's high? I don't know what high is.
I don't know. Like if it's over 50 mil, it's free.
It's half of that.
That's fair. To maybe drop a name. You don't have
to. Well, okay. So the Off-Chain Labs Twitter account tweeted it out. So maybe I'm not the first one to do this.
Yeah. We're sharing a tweet.
It's called Talos. It's a sovereign AI project.
Okay.
And then the last sovereign AI project called Freysia was like a big winner in the AI meta like 6 months ago.
I've heard of Talos. Somebody sent me this. I heard of this.
Yeah, the ticker, I think it's just like T is the ticker. And so Off-Chain Labs is kind of like supporting it. And I don't know too much about the team. Like it's like on my to-do list to learn more. But like sovereign AI is something I'm really interested in, just because like the whole thesis about sovereign AI is like, well, if you can get AI to literally exist on chain, and you can only do that on layer 2s because you need that bandwidth. Then they could like live and breathe on this chain in a way that's decentralized, and so truly no one can turn it off because it's not on a centralized server. And so you could give life to AI by putting it onto a blockchain.
I mean, look, I'm here for AI season part 2. Let's run back.
Dude, I'm definitely here
fall
for
2024.
Yeah.
Do you think any of the institutional money flowing back to ETH will come on chain at all? Like, are we going to see 2021 ETH on chain season again, or is this completely different marginal buyer than what we had before?
Like it could, you know that the little contraption where you have like 6 balls and then the ball hits and then the last ball like swings and then it does that thing. It could be something like that, right? Where like the TradFi bid comes in on the ETH ETF side, right? It doesn't go anywhere on chain. Pushes up the ETH price though. And then like downstream, somebody who's got like an Aave loan with ETH collateral all of a sudden has like, 30% more like leverage to work with. And then that shows up on chain. And so I do think there's a connectedness to this thing. Like I don't expect the TradFi buyer to like even be buying on Coinbase. Like they are buying inside of their brokerage. They're buying Tom Lee's thing. They're buying the ETH ETFs, which now have stake. Well, BlackRock filed for staking. So there's some capital accrual there. But so long as the degens get like a bigger line of credit to go be degens, that counts as the same thing to me.
And I'm sure you talk, or you're more in tune with the institutional crowd than I am. I can confidently say that. Why are they buying now? Like, what started this? Just like, it's just Sailor? Like, what started this? It feels like every day there's some new massive headline. Joe Lubin slamming 5 bill, SBAT. Like, why now?
Yeah. I mean, like it's like I said, it's Tom Lee that lit the match, but really what's going on, like in addition to all the other kindling that I talked about, the Circle, Coinbase, Robinhood,
Yeah.
all kind of doing Ethereum stuff, there's also the Genius bill that just got that I think Trump is signing like right
Right
now.
now, yeah,
And
yeah.
then and then Clarity is also getting passed. And those things open up a huge pipeline of capital between Ethereum and TradFi, a pipeline of capital that's as big as the stablecoin like issuers that are deploying there, right? And so like it's them coming like on chain, their capital's coming on chain. And really like the simple argument is that like all of these things are happening and ETH is the Shelling Point asset. ETH is the native currency that they're all building around. And so yeah, like Bitcoin, digital gold, but like it's in bull markets, Ethereum is an emerging economy and ETH is the native currency of that economy. And like you don't really have to explain like, well, does the REV support ETH at this valuation? Like, no, it's a money. It's got a capped inflation rate at 1.5%. You need the currency of Ethereum. The blockchain's called Ethereum. The token's called Ether. Like, you don't really have to think that hard to just understand like, oh, there's this growing economy. Let's buy the money. And I think that's what's happening.
You just close your eyes and click the big green button.
Yeah. Don't think about it too hard. Yeah.
When you mentioned the Circle take, which I actually think is interesting, you talk about Robinhood and how they're building on top of Ethereum. You talk about Base and how they're building on top of Ethereum. What happened to the like L2 Vamps mainnet narrative? Like, have we? I don't know. Like, has the core ETH community decided that these L2s are actually beneficial to Ether and its price action?
The core Ethereum community always would say that the layer twos are good for Ethereum. Like
Right.
some of the more people trying to occupy the middle ground, like me, are trying to also say like, okay, like it's good that Coinbase and Robinhood are building these layer twos, and also we have to acknowledge it's coming out of the economics of our asset, and how do we fix that? How do we fix that? We scale the layer one, make it give less of a free lunch to the layer twos by just having such a constrained layer one, like actually being competitive at the layer one. I think that's good, and that will kind of like return some economics to ETH. But nonetheless, I think that if you're like an ETH maxi, you are always like ride or die. Like layer twos are just extensions of the Ethereum brand. Coinbase is an extension of the Ethereum brand. Now Robinhood is an extension of the Ethereum brand. Circle is an extension of the Ethereum brand. And that's kind of why I said like all of these things are kind of like Ethereum coded, because Ethereum has given up free lunches to anyone building a layer two or anyone that like deploying on their block space, in a way that they have absorbed that. And now they're all kind of like, there's the famous like Josh Stark tweet, like Ethereum doesn't have a marketing department, it has 1,000 marketing departments.
That's a thing.
And like in a bear market that doesn't work, but in a bull market that does really work.
It's pretty cool how far we've come that like Robinhood is part of that group, right? It's pretty
I mean, Robinhood's materially different from Coinbase, right? Because Coinbase is on the inside. Like Coinbase is one of us. It behooves them to foster their own ecosystem to grow it.
Yeah.
Robinhood came in completely on its own merit. They didn't need to make a layer two.
Yeah.
They made a layer two because it benefits them.
Tell me why it feels like crypto Twitter and a lot of the people that have their ear to the trenches are completely missing the ETH and Bitcoin treasury company trade. Like, is it just two separate groups of people?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of crypto Twitter is like just really anti-ETH, culturally speaking. I think like if like maybe you check me if I'm wrong here, but I think like post FTX collapse, the Ethereum community wasn't being that like warm or welcoming. The Ethereum community was mostly twisting the knife and kind of being holier than thou, and I think that really actually drove a wedge between people who enjoyed Solana for being fast and cheap and like answering their lived experience. And so as a result of that, like if you're just buying runners in trenches, like you don't really enjoy the Ethereum brand. And so the Ethereum treasury companies is kind of it's literally Ethereum coded. And so I'm assuming there's some like psychological resistance to that. But then also like you have to like, it took me a while to realize how far into this whole treasury company meta we already were. There's already like 20 total of these things. We just got our Litecoin one today, and you needed to have been paying attention in the equities markets, which is not something, it's not a muscle that most of us have.
I think, I think even more than people being anti-ETH, people are just really pro money. And on-chain ETH just like dried up after NFT. I mean, it was one of the most legendary runs ever. and then it just dried up, and then the game was just on Solana. Like 2024 it was the year of Sol on chain. It just was. There was no other way to cut it. 2025 post Trump launch, it's like not exactly clear that is the case. How much
hard to beat a Trump launch?
I mean, I don't think you can ever beat a Trump launch, really, unless
I don't think you can beat a Trump launch.
Yeah, unless Satoshi comes back and drops Bitcoin too on Sol. It's like, how much money is left to extract from these ETH Treasury companies? Like, if you're watching this and you are like, holy fuck, I need, I just made a Robinhood account, I'm ready to make money now. Is there still like meat on the bone to make money on these things?
I mean, I think that's the $1 billion question, right? Like, why this thing is like it's hard to reason about is because like it's not a static answer. Like, there's a certain amount of money that's available and interested in buying MSTR and like Sailor's coupons and eventually Joe Lubin's coupons to give them free money. But if ETH and Bitcoin, if these things go higher and attract more they can attract more capital the more hype that grows.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a recursive property. So the line of credit can open up as a function of how much hype there is. And that can actually like make it puts the bid on it puts the floor in because there's a sufficient line of credit. And then more market participants can come in and like, oh, well, I feel even more secure in like lending MicroStrategy when Bitcoin is at $1 million. And so I will go and lend MicroStrategy my money and then collect my 10% coupon. And so as a function of the consumption of that credit, it can actually create more demand, create more interested further credit as well. And so there are two variables that are not static, which means you can't really reason about it because then it could all collapse and everyone could like turn their tail and run at any given moment. Yeah. But it can also like recurse on itself as well. And so we'll see.
Dude, what the fuck happened to Joe Lubin? Like, did he just wake up one day and was like, "Fuck this"? Like, I'm
so
rich and we're making it go up. Like, what happened to Joe Lubin?
Yeah, kind of. That is kind of what happened. But also, he was getting targeted by the SEC. Consensus was the SEC was going after Danny Ryan. We actually just learned about that Danny Ryan himself actually got subpoenaed by the SEC. And so, like, if you're an Ethereum person who's like frustrated by like the suffering ETH ratio, like your narrative, which is like potentially true, that like the SEC has specifically called out Ethereum and Ether and secretly labeled it a security, double secret probation for Ethereum, and then went out and like actually did like lawfare against Danny Ryan and any sort of United States based EF member, because Danny Ryan got that subpoena, Joe Lubin got that subpoena. And then with the purging of the previous administration, all of a sudden Joe Lubin can literally wake up and be like, sweet, it's a fucking commodity, let's fucking go. And so like a part of the Ethereum community, like the coordinators of Ethereum, like Joseph Lubin, Danny Ryan, all these people who are on the United States, they had to just be quiet for the last 2 years because the SEC was like threatening to sue them. But once that was gone, then like all of a sudden Joe Lubin can get bold.
So there's like a scenario where the ETH was literally being suppressed, and then the green light was granted, and now it's just like fucking Wild West. People slamming guys.
Yeah, like the SEC truly did label Solana a security and like Polygon a security. So you can't really say that the SEC was going after just Ethereum, which some people will say. But then also, I don't really hear any like Solana devs or like Solana leadership getting subpoenas from the SEC.
Damn,
like
that's crazy.
Ethereum did though.
They beat the case though. Ripple mode.
Yeah.
Hey, this might be a Fed question. You don't have to answer, but I'm just curious. Like, what percentage of your net worth is in ETH?
Okay, so I own a decent amount of Hood and Coin now. Okay. Because that has like absolutely pumped. And so I'll say like, I think like 60%.
60% of everything you own is in spot ETH?
No, I'm including SBET in the ETH Treasuries. Well, and so anything ETH denominated. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. But like, 60% of ETH flavored things. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow. I like to say like 10.
10?
Yeah. I mean, bro,
so low.
That's sick. 60. Okay. Fucking, you're walking the walk. I'm curious on this. Like, I always use...
Wait. If you thought it was 10, what did you think was the rest of my portfolio?
I don't know. Like maybe a house or two here. Like.
Oh, okay. I own a house in Seattle. It's pretty modest. I don't live there. Okay. And I don't really consider that part of my like portfolio.
Fair. Yeah. 10 was I underestimated. That was like a dig, actually. I didn't mean it offensively. All right. One thing I like to look at for where we are in the retail part of the cycle is how much engagement I'm getting on tweets and how many people are watching my content. Like,
Yeah.
are bankless numbers ripping right now over the
They're
last
trending
6
up.
months?
They're not ripping in like how they were in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
And also just like the media landscape is changed. Like when we started Bankless in 2020, like we were the disruptive independent media company, and now I feel like we're kind of the establishment, and there's the podcasting technology has gotten even more long tail and easier to access, and now you can rip a Twitter space in any moment's notice.
Yeah.
And so like we're starting to get unbundled by just like smaller and smaller rooms. But like numbers are trending up, but like not massively so.
I agree. They
But
got
like we'll see, like we'll check back again in a month after ETH keeps on ripping, if ETH keeps on ripping, and then like usually bankless numbers do tend to be tied to ETH price.
Yeah, I agree. They got to raise the price of podcast equipment for sure.
Yeah.
All right, this is like maybe a weird one, but I'm genuinely curious because you know, no glaze. I know you're like live with me right now. I think you guys do a really good job. I think you guys do a really good job. I became a bankless fan around like early forecaster days because you had the best. I was like, I was avoidant. I didn't want to listen to it, and you're the best Dan Romero interviews. I think you have 2 or 3 of them, and they're the best. And then I was like, you know what? These guys do a great job. Also, did I lose you? No way. I was about to ask a banger question. I think I lost him. Hold up, chat. Hold on, chat. Back? Cool.
Right.
The ETH overlords didn't want me to glaze you, but sick Dan Romero interviews. I'm a big fan of this. But you guys get a lot of shit about ETH in particular, and I see bankless in the B in the black and red, and I just think of ETH, especially when price was down. Do you think bankless has been bad for the Ethereum narrative?
Why? Tell me why.
I don't know, because I think there's this outside perception that people see like, oh, the bankless bros, and then they think ETH, and they're like, fuck ETH, fuck bankless.
Yeah, I definitely think there's like a part of that. I think we overextended on some ETH narratives that the broader market got really fatigued about, and then 6 months later we were still talking about them. And so I think that if I could go back in time and like change some of the things and like the focuses that we had, I would have been more open to alternatives earlier on. Like everything I said, I believe in, but like at some point you don't need to say it like 3, 4, 5 times a week.
I hear you.
And so yeah, and so I get it. Like there's like bankless fatigue, I think is a real thing. Also, like we put out a fuck ton of content. That's a lot of mine and Ryan's voices, and at some point I think that can be fatiguing. And so like yeah, I kind of understand it. And so like yeah, I think some people who don't listen to bankless anymore have like a 2022 interpretation of bankless because they haven't checked in a while. And so I'm not gonna say that that's necessarily wrong. Is that the whole story? Like, well, I mean, I asked different people how much they think that bankless added to ETH's market cap in 2021, and like I get somewhere between like 10 and 25% of ETH's market cap in 2021. And today I think we're below 5. But in 20, like some people will say that we added like 25% of ETH to ETH's market cap in 2021.
What was the top of ETH market cap?
Like $1 trillion.
You think you added 200? You think you added $250 billion in market cap? That's insane.
It's so impossible to know, but like, yo, we had everyone listening to bankless. Like we had complete. Like, when Bitcoin dominance was at like 80% early on, like that's what bankless dominance was like. Like there was no second best podcast to us. Now we have a ton of competitors and there's just a ton of different interests and like people get to choose their own creator. But back in like 2020, 2021, like there was no one else.
Whoa. I wish there was a way to actually see like the trickle down effect.
To actually value that, yeah.
That is insane. Look, whether it's true or not, I fuck with the take. That's sick. Honestly, that's sick. Does bankless ever become an ETH treasury company?
There's a guy who's like, yo, I've got this this shell company. I'm trying to figure out what other company to put it in. I thought about it, but I don't know if I got that in me.
Dude, I mean it feels obvious, right? I was like, what am I gonna ask him today? I'm like, oh wait, like they're probably already working on this. I was actually thinking about
We are not working on it.
Damn.
We need a lot more experience in like TradFi and connections, and it's like a lifestyle at that point. Like you have to be about that life, and I don't know if I've got that in me.
I'm curious, like, what's the plan for Bankless? Like, you don't have that in you, but like you've been doing this for as long as I've been
5 years.
as long as I've been in crypto,
Yeah.
2020, 2021. Like, where does, and I mean, you're undeniably like the go-to media outlet, especially for video interviews in crypto. Like, where does Bankless even go from here?
Yeah, we don't really have like grand aspirations. Like we don't want to go public. It's a life. We consider it like a lifestyle business. So we definitely want to grow. Like we want to open up. Like we like being competitive. Like we want to build the business. Like we want to grow the bottom line because what else are you gonna do with your life? But like we don't want to go public. Like we don't want to like I don't really think we can sell Bankless, and I don't really want to. And even if I did sell Bankless, then what would I do with my life? Like
Yeah.
kind of a pretty sweet gig. I get to talk to really smart people and have really interesting conversations. And so I don't really have like the equilibrium's pretty good. And so we're just finding different ways to grow and like access. Like we still have some like big names that we want to get on the podcast. Like we've never gotten God, who's the Blackstone guy or Bridgewater guy? Ray Dalio. Never gotten Ray Dalio on the podcast. Right. Like we want to get Ray Dalio. I want to get Peter Thiel. There's some names that we haven't crossed off the list yet. And so that's kind of like when you ask me what's next for Bankless, it's like, how do I get Ray Dalio on the podcast? And so
Hey,
stuff like that.
you don't have to give me the game or publicly. You don't have to give it. But how do you get these? Like, what's your outreach strategy? Is it at this point it's just like, yo, we're Bankless, it's obvious, like come on the pod, or are you guys like grinding to like hunt people down and get them on?
It's a mix between the two. Ryan is a really good salesman, and I don't know, maybe this is a broader term, but he's always about like ask harder. AskHarder.com is like something that he says, right? And so, I mean, when I'm writing an email, I'll like link the 4 senators that we've had on, and the 2 like SEC regulators, and the time we had on Sam Altman, and the time we had on Mark Cuban, and then I'll give him our average downloads per episode, and then I'll give him a pitch as to like why I'm excited, and usually that gets us like 90% of the way there. Yeah,
that's pretty chat.
And the way that we got there is we just climbed up the ladder. Like we just got the next biggest guest, the next.
Yeah,
biggest
you've been doing
guest,
it forever, consistently.
Yeah, we've been doing it forever. Yeah.
Okay,
we have a great team. We have a great team that supports us.
How big is the team? Like the media side of the team?
Yeah, so like we separate it into Pod Squad and Alpha Team. Alpha Team's all the newsletter editors and the website writers, and that is 3 people. The website is 3 people plus an editor.
Cool.
And then the podcast team is 5 people, not including me and Ryan. Cool. And so then you have the 2 hosts. And then we have a website person, a graphic designer, a COO, a BD guy, and so the team is like 15 people, which most people don't really expect. Most people don't expect a team of 15, but that's because they just see me and Ryan. Yeah.
The threadguy operation is like 4 or 5 now. It feels huge.
Oh wow,
yeah, it feels fucking. It's like I'm fucking. I got 2 people to respond to.
Wow, look at the job creator over here.
I know. All right, I basically have one final question for you, and
yeah.
It's honestly like advice, dude. Like I'm curious. At this point, the stream is my full-time gig. I took a little while off, but we're 5 days a week, every day, nonstop. And crypto is my full-time gig. Media is my full-time gig. Like, how do you take what this is? Obviously, I have some level of distribution. I'm able to get you on. I have some level of distribution already. How do you like take this and then evolve it into like, you know, the biggest operation, the Bankless where you have 15 employees and you have Sam Altman and Mark Cuban on? Like, how do you go not 0 to 1, but like, you know, like 10 to 100?
I can only tell you what we did, and what we did worked for us. Everyone kind of has their own strategy, and I wouldn't say that you should follow our strategy because you're a thread guy, and like you're not David, you're a thread guy, and that means that you have your own strategy. But like the 2 things that we did is like we did very thorough prep. We still do very thorough prep on our long form podcast, and so for an hour and a half of podcasting, we prep for 2 hours. And so there's a pretty good ratio there of prep work and just doing research, and then me and Ryan's kind of simulating the conversation in our heads. And so we have a flow, we have an agenda, we have this Google Doc. I have the second screen that I have the Google Doc on. And when 2 people are in a Google Doc, you can see where they're highlighting, and we have a way of communicating behind the scenes about like who's got what question next. And so prep work is really important. and then grinding for the next biggest guest, right? Like if you just get a guest that's big, well then the next biggest guest becomes accessible to you and you got to go get that one. And then it's just a matter of consistency. And so we slapped those two things together. And then we had a good story to tell. So our story was ETH, and it's always been about Ethereum. And so people like stories. That was the story that we told, and we just slapped all those things together, and that's how we did it.
Last question is, at what point in the bankless like plan did you guys add the venture arm, and like why did you do that?
Yeah, so that was my idea. That happened. The idea for that happened in 2021 when like me and Ryan were taking like 7 or 8 like just angel check calls a week, doing due diligence calls. And then I was like, Ryan, this is taking up a lot of our time. What if we hired like an analyst to just do these for us, and they would like actually tell us if these are like good or bad, or like actually like spend some time researching the market. Oh, and then if we hire this analyst, we'll take money from like friends and family and like our local community, and we'll pay for that person's salary. Oh, wait, that's a venture fund. And so like we kind of like did the logical conclusion. In 2021, we weren't at 15 people in the media company. We were only at 5 or something. So we still had a lot left to do building out the media company. So we just put that idea back on the shelf. I met Ben Lakoff, who's our third GP, just throughout conference season. And then Ben was like, oh, Ben's the guy who can do this full time while Ryan and I only do it part time because we have the media thing that we have to do. And so found Ben, who found Brent, who is our first like associate, who's the guy that we needed. And then we had a team, and then that happened at the end of 2022. And so then we put it together. And so we just took all of our deal flow, put it into Bankless Ventures, raised money from like all the ETH people that you would know. And then just like structured something that we were already doing passively into just an organized business.
It's impressive, dude. I gotta give you flowers. It's impressive. Everything you built is impressive. And honestly, you deserve some grave dancing here on ETH. So for honestly your sake, everyone's sake, the market's sake, I hope this thing rips to 10K. Or Ryan's 150K target. Either one works.
750K.
700K. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, like, appreciate it, man. I think the ETH price has a lot left to go. If you look at the ETH BTC ratio, it's still not pretty. And so, job's not done. Honestly, I think it's very too soon to be dancing. But I appreciate the kind words. And I'll have to also say, I think you're doing a great job as well. I think you exude authenticity, and I think that's your brand. And I think that's something that's unique to threadguy. And so whatever the threadguy strategy is, I think it would capture the fact that you exude authenticity and people can see that in you.
David Hoffman, man, it was a pleasure. I'm happy we